Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Chilltown Hoops. I'm your host, Jermaine. The youngsters call me OG. My friends call me J-Dub. Let's get to it. So, when you get into a playoff series, the best thing about it is that you get to concentrate solely on that team. This isn't the regular season where we play you tonight and then I don't get to see you again for 2 months and then I got to go double back and remember everything that you did. No. I get to solely focus on you. What are you good at? How good are you in transition? What kind of team are you on the backboard? How are you in the last 2 minutes of a quarter? How are you in the last 5 minutes of the third quarter? How do you handle pressure? How good are you on the road? I get to go over and I get to analyze all of this stuff. And I get to pick at every weakness that you have. So whatever is wrong with you, we're going to shine a light on that. Whatever you do good, we're going to shine a light on that as well. So I hear a lot of people talking to me about the Golden State Warriors are going to get swept. And I'm thinking to myself, well, wait a minute. All Sacramento did was hold serve. They're the higher seed. In the process of them being the higher seed, they're an average home team. I think they got the 12th best home record in the league. Something like that. I think they got the 12th best home record in the league. So with that being said, it's the playoffs. They should handle Golden State, who's one of the worst road teams in the league. They should handle them, which they did. So in the process of them handling them, everybody is now saying Golden State is overmatched. Well, every game they've been in it because they prepared for Sacramento. What's been the difference in this series? Well, the difference in this series has been one guy and one guy only. That's been Malik Monk. We were not prepared for Malik Monk to almost double his production off the bench. Malik Monk averages around 13, 14 a game. In this series, in these 2 games, he's come off the bench. He's averaging 25 a game. Now, we have a guy in Golden State who's just as good coming off the bench in Jordan Poole, only except he hasn't matched that production. So because he hasn't matched Malik Monk's production, we're not prepared to endure that. Because now what that does, that puts more pressure on our starters. That puts more pressure on Curry to score. That puts more pressure on Andrew Wiggins to score. That puts more pressure on Looney to score. That puts more pressure on Klay Thompson to score. That puts more pressure on your starters to do more. That's why, like I just said, when you're in a playoff series, we get to focus on this one team, what they do and what they don't do. So we're as prepared as possible. I thought that Sacramento did a really good job, ironically, defensively on Golden State. Golden State is one of the best third quarter teams in the league. And to hold Steph Curry to 0 points in the third quarter, to hold him to 0 points in the third quarter, not just hold him to 0 points in the third quarter, to hold Golden State to 23 points and slow down their attack. I thought they did a really good job at that. Really good. The difference here with Sacramento is they play the way Golden State plays. And in the process of us playing the way that you play, playing fast, playing wide open, we got the horses to do that. Golden State has the horses to do that too, only except Sacramento is younger and fresher. So they get out in the open floor more, which is why I felt like this Golden State team, they have to slow down this offense. And the reason why, and the way that they're going to slow down this offense is they got to make the Sacramento Kings guard for stretches. That's how you slow down their transition game. If you're going to get into an up and down game with them, you're going to lose. Particularly because of guys like Monk coming off the bench, who's instant energy and instant action. You're gonna lose. You're not gonna have a chance when you run up on a guy like that. That's just not gonna happen. So Golden State has to figure out how to make Sacramento guard for stretches, longer, not just one sequence, right? Not just one possession. We got to keep them on the defense longer to slow them down. That's the only way we're going to stay in this series. Now, again, I want to go back to what I just mentioned about Sacramento hold and serve. That's all they did. That's all they did was hold serve. All the heat was on Sacramento being at home. All of it. Not some of it or most of it. All of it was on them. They're the higher seed. So you guys have to win both of these games at home. Now all the pressure goes to the Golden State Warriors. We're coming into your building. You got to hold serve. And I'm going to tell you guys, it's a lot different coming back to your building, being an inexperienced playoff team, even an experienced playoff team, any playoff team. Let's just take experience off the table. It's a lot different when we're coming back to your building in Game 5 and the series is tied 2-2 and the loser of this game is facing an elimination game, particularly the home team on the road. The bets just got higher. The stakes are a lot higher now. So because of that, that's why Golden State has to serve. That's why Golden State has to hold serve at home. Now remember, as equally as bad as Golden State is on the road, as bad as Golden State is on the road, they're equally as good at home. These are how many teams in the NBA have a better home record than them. These are how many. That's it. So with that being said, they could hold serve at home. We all know that quote-unquote role players play better at home than they do on the road. And guys like Jordan Poole, Gary Payton Jr., these guys have to be better at home. I thought when Draymond got tossed last night, I thought that changed the momentum of the game because now their offense is different. They no longer have the playmaker, the distributor, the facilitator that they had in Draymond, who puts pressure on the defense. No, he might not shoot the long ball. But he is a threat to shoot the long ball. Even if you are going to live with that, he is a threat to do that. So now what they're left with is they're left with Looney out high, running pick and roll action with Steph Curry, which we know he's not a threat 17, 18 feet away from the basket. We know that. As opposed to Draymond, who if they're running pick and pop action, Draymond is a threat to get to the basket and make a play for somebody else. And the ball moves different. The offense moves different when he's on the floor. When he's off the floor, now with Steph being the primary ball handler and you can key on him, now he has to create shots for Klay Thompson. He's got to create shots for Jordan Poole. He's got to create shots for Andrew Wiggins. That's really not his game. He can do that, but that's really not his game. Steph is more effective when he plays off the basketball because of that offense and the action that they have when it's moving the way it's moving. So I'm looking forward to Sacramento going to San Francisco. I'm looking forward to see how they handle that crowd. I'm looking forward to see how they handle runs because, again, Golden State plays different at home. That energy in that building is different at home. So I'm really interested to see how they play. I had the Golden State Warriors picked in 6. I'm still sticking with that. I didn't see anything that Sacramento did that I thought was astronomical. All these guys did was hold serve. Golden State was in every one of these games. When you're talking about the meat and potatoes of the game, it was one. We're talking about 2-3 minutes. It was a 1-2 possession game. I thought that they could have done a better job in their transition defense. I thought that De'Aaron Fox in transition got wherever he wanted to go. I thought that he got whatever he wanted. I think that the pickup point with him has to be sooner in order to slow their transition game down. Because if he's coming at you with a full head of steam, there's really not much that you can do. Especially when he's already across half court. I think that's why when I watched that Milwaukee-Phoenix NBA Finals, that's why Drew Holiday was so instrumental. Because he slowed Chris Paul down. The pickup point was 75 feet. So once they tried to get going, Drew Holiday was right in Chris Paul's face. That's how you're going to slow down Sacramento. That pickup point has to be sooner. So them being on the backboard, it was basically the same. I thought Sacramento did a good job in forcing Golden State to turn the basketball over late in the game. The turnover margin wasn't that big. The turnover margin was not that big. I do think that they did a good job in putting Golden State in positions where they turned the ball over. I thought Steph was a little careless with the basketball late in the game. I thought he was a little careless with the basketball. I also thought Klay Thompson was also that way too. So I'm interested to see I'm interested to see what happens when they go to San Francisco. Really interested to see. What I'm not interested to see is Philadelphia and Brooklyn as much as I was. I said this to you guys already, and I still stand on the logic. I think that they can beat Brooklyn without Joel Embiid. Now, James Harden will rear the ugly James Harden head. You saw that yesterday, right? So with James Harden, you're going to see one end of the spectrum, and then you're going to see the other end of the spectrum. So now you already got your 3 for 13 performance out of him. So now, can we stick somewhere in the middle with James Harden? Because when you look at Brooklyn's transition players, I think Philadelphia's transition players are just as good. I think Maxey is just as good as any transition player that they have over there in Brooklyn. Tobias Harris is just as good. They're long ball shooters. The way that they speed up the offense. The playmaker that they have in James Harden, as long as he keeps those guys involved in the game, I think that they always will have a chance to win. Joel Embiid is the difference in the series. He's the guy that tips the scales. He's the one where, okay, we don't have that. That's why we're not going to win. It's very similar to watching Philadelphia play the Lakers in the 2001 NBA Finals. Kobe Bryant is fantastic. Allen Iverson, phenomenal. Eric Snow, Derek Fisher. These guys are all fantastic. What's the difference in this series? We got Shaq and you don't. That's the difference in this series. We got him and you don't. That's why we're going to beat you. That's the difference with Philadelphia and Brooklyn. We have Joel Embiid and you don't. Without Joel Embiid, I still think we can beat you guys. But with him, you don't stand a chance. What they did with Joel Embiid was, and I thought that this wasn't a good idea with Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers is putting Joel Embiid in spaces away from the basket, which enables them to double team him. Where if he played around the free throw line or in the mid post, now what that does, because when you double, now what that does is that gives the defense more ground to cover for shooters. When you put Joel Embiid on the wing, that doesn't give the defense more ground to cover. That's not a lot of space. When Joel Embiid is at the free throw line or he's at the mid post, when he's kicking the basketball, now you got to cover more space. And when you have to cover more space, these guys are not, that means that these guys are wide open. And if they're knocking down open shots, now you can't double as much. And if you can't double as much, you know what that means? That means one-on-one coverage with Joel Embiid on the block. And I'm putting my money on Joel Embiid on the block against Nick Claxton or against Cam Johnson. I'm putting my money on Joel Embiid. No question about that. So I think that that's something that has to change. I'm a big fan of Maxey. I caught a lot of heat early in the season because I'm on record saying that I was comfortable letting James Harden walk out the front door. I wanted to give the ball to Maxey. And the reason why I wanted to give the ball to Maxey, because I felt like this was a no-fail situation for him. What do I mean when I say that? He's coached by Doc Rivers, who's a point guard. His assistant coach was Sam Cassell. So he basically went to point guard university. Right? So with him going to point guard university, I didn't see any way that this would fail. They would play faster. Not only would they play faster, Joel Embiid would be more involved in the offense, just as much, if not more, as James Harden. I think that they would play faster. But I think that this series, I'll be surprised if this series went past 5 games. I'd be very surprised if this series went past 5 games. I think that this series is over. I don't think that, even though I think Philadelphia, all they did was hold serve. You know, they went home. They're the better team. They should handle Brooklyn. But I'm looking at the matchup, and I just don't see where Brooklyn has an advantage. I don't. So, but it's the playoffs, guys. I'm here for it. You know where to find me at, and I will be here. So until then, take it light, but take it.